Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Deva, glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to you all for being here today. Today we have His Grace Salika Prabhu, who is one of us. He will be speaking the Bhagavatam today. So, Prabhuji, if you're ready, we'll put the verse on the screen and you may take it over.
Yes, you can go ahead, Saudi.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Narayachaivam Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudhirayet Nasta Praishu Abhadrisu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhagavati Nice checking. So we're reading from SRIMAD Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 1, text number 31. SRIMAD Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 1, text number 31. First step in God realization. So we read the Sanskrit text. Chandam se anantasya siro granti damstre rayama sneha kala advijani azu janu maladam karicha mayam duranta sargo yat apanga mokshaha. Chandam se anantasya siro granti damstria yama sneha kala advijani azu janu mada karicha maya Duranta sargo yad apanga mokshaha. Chandam si anantasya siru grinanti. Damshritra yamas neha kala adwijani. Aso jano mala karisha maya. Duranta sargo yad apanga mokshaha. Chandam si anantasya siru grinanti. Dam street Trayamas neha kala dvijani. Aso janum madat karicha maya. Duranta sargo yad apanga mokshaha. Word for word translation. Chadamsi. The Vedic hymns. Antasya of the Supreme. Shira, the cerebral passage. Grinanti, they say. Damshritra, the jaws of teeth. Yama, the director of sinners. Sneha Kala, the art of affection. Dvijani, the set of teeth. Asaha, smile. Jana Umadakari, the most alluring. Cha, also. Maya, illusory energy. Duranta, unsurpassable. Sargaha, the material creation. Yat apanga, whose glance. Mokshaha, casting over. Translation and purport by the Divine Grace Labai China Vindesi Bhaktivedanta Swami. They say that the Vedic hymns are the cerebral passage of the Lord. And his jaws of teeth are Yarma, God of death, who punishes the sinners. The art of affection is a set of teeth, and the most alluring illusory material energy is his smile. This great ocean of material creation is but the casting of his glance over us. According to Vedic assertion, this material creation is the result of the Lord's casting a glance over the material energy, which is described herein as the most alluring illusory energy. The conditioned souls who are allured by such materialism should know that the material temporary creation is simply an imitation of the reality, and that those who are captivated by such alluring glances of the Lord are put under the direction of the controller of sinners called Yamaraj. The Lord smiles affectionately, displaying his teeth. The intelligent person who can grasp this truth about the Lord becomes a soul fully surrendered unto him. Oma Gyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Gyanam Shalakaya Chacho Militam Yatasmai Shri Gurave Nama Prichetanya Manobishtam Stapitam Tena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kada Mayam Dadati Swampadam Tikam Vandiyam Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamcha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganam Bhagunatam Vitam Tam Saajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijanam Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Agana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitam Sham Hare Krishna Karuna Shindu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Rishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Mukankaroti Vachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Yat Kripat Ambande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Vanchakarpataru Vyascha Kripa Sundubhyas Ivaschaha Patitanam Pavashnevebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srinivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Chandam se anantasya shiro binanti damsetya yamasrihat kala adui jani asu janno madakari chamaya duranta sargo yat apanga moksha. They say that the Vedic hymns are the cerebral passage of the Lord, and his jaws of teeth are Yama, god of death, who punishes the sinners. The art of affection is his set of teeth, and the most alluring illusory immaterial energy is his smile. This great ocean of material creation is but the casting of his glance over us. Hare Krishna. So before trying to speak, we want to offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the Supreme Most Human Being, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, to all of the Vaishnava Acharyas in disciple succession, To all of the devotees who are gathered on this platform, who are listening to this wonderful narration from the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. Today we are reading from second canto of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, which is subtitled "This First Step in God Realization." So today we are treating text number 31. And so in this text we are reading, it's a continuation of the discussion from Shukadeva Goswami about the features of the Virat Rupa, or the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is in resonance with the subtitle of the text, which is the first step in God realization, because for one to be able to achieve success in anything, there is always the necessity to understand the purpose or the goal behind it. So understanding and knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the first step in God realization. So it is appropriate and key that Shukadeva Goswami is starting this discussion and Prabhupada titled it appropriately by using the word first step in God realization. So in this particular text, two words are very significant. The first is the cerebral passage of the Lord. The Vedic hymns are the cerebral passage of the Lord. And the other is the alluring illusory material energy is his smile. The nature of the material world is such that the subject matter about illusion is very interesting to discuss or subject matter. And it is the all-important subject matter for those who are wise or intelligent. When Prabhupada translated the word using the word cerebral, when we go to the original literary meaning of the word cerebral, it is originated from the Latin word meaning cerebrum, which actually literally translates to intelligent, or refers to somebody who is talking from the heart or the brain and not from emotions. In other words, he's talking from reality. And when we talked about God removing emotions, removing sentiments, removing speculations, if we are going to be talking about the essence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so it is important to talk from the cerebral point or from the intelligent point of view. And the intelligent understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot happen unless we have a proper perception of who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. But the challenge here is that for every living entity who is in the material world, everyone is in what is called Maya or illusion. So when we look at this test, although Prabhupada gave a very short purport, but it is interesting that there are several questions that arises from this test alone, because the core subject matter in this test is talking about the illusory energy of the Lord, which is the all-devouring, which is the all-confusing nature of the living entity in the material world. And several questions develops in the mind. And I itemize them, about 7 of them. Because when we talked about the subject matter of illusion, one question that will first come to the mind is that, does illusion truly exist? What is that illusion? Unless one understands what illusion truly is, whether illusion or Maya truly exists, one cannot understand what illusion is. And thirdly, one has to be able to find out whether it's actually under illusion or it's not illusion. And when one is able to find an answer to that, then the question then that comes to mind is, what is the purpose of this illusion? And can the living entity come out of the illusion? If the living entity can come out of the illusion, who can take the living entity out of the illusion of conditional life? And finally, the one who is to take one out of illusion must be completely free from illusion. So these seven questions that came to mind while I was reading these thoughts, I will try to share some realization on them. So the first thing is that, does illusion truly exist? As living entities in the material world, according to the Vedic scriptures, there are 10 senses, plus the mind making it live on the senses. There are 5 working senses by which we acquire knowledge. And there are 5 working senses. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, text number 6 and 7, Lord Krishna said to the Arjuna that Mahabhutani Ahankaro Bodhi Avyaktab Evacha Indriyani Indasaikam Chaha Panchat Chendriya Gochara Ichadwesha Sukam Dukam Sangata Shetana Driti Eta Shetram Sabasenam Savikaram Udaritam. That there are 5 great elements: false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, and the mind. Then it talks about the 5 sense objects: desired, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and confusion. All these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. And in the purpose, Prabhupada enumerated the 10 senses, the 5 working and the 5 acquiring senses. So the 5 knowledge acquiring senses are the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. Eyes for seeing, ears for hearing, nose for smelling, the tongue is for tasting, and the skin is for touch. Then there are 5 working senses: the voice, in which we use in communication, talking, the legs in walking, hands in taking and picking up things, the anus and the genitals. These are all considered the 5 working senses. And the living entity operates based on the reflection of these senses. Every living entity is whatever it is or she is based on the usage of these tools. And if a living entity is going to, if we're going to do an examination, the tools must be adequate to be able to give the adequate results. And this is where the challenge comes in. The senses, as they are enumerated, are imperfect. And because of their imperfection, so how then can they give a perfect perception of things? We all have a reality of knowledge that when we look closely at the working and the knowledge acquiring senses, they are so limited in so many ways. And these are the tools that we have in assessing the truth. So in the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedic literatures in general, it is explained that our senses, the very means which we can gather data or knowledge about the Lord or the world, are unreliable because they are prone to illusion. They don't give us direct access to an objective world. Rather, they give an illusory objectivity. And we all can relate to this. of course, when we say, we talked about illusion, for those who are lacking in knowledge of what Maya or the illusion is like, they might have this thing that the material world is illusory, so meaning that it is, it does not exist, it's illusion. But that is not the truth. The material world is real. And we, the living entities, also, we are real. So how then do we say that the material world is illusory or our perception is illusory? An example of a person in a glass or in a mirror house can be taken as an example. When one stand or sit in a house that is walled by mirror, a reflection of so many persons is reflected, but there's only one person. But then the mirror gives reflections of so many. So when we look in our real material life experience, although what we see looks so much real based on our perception, but the reality is that whatever is going on in our material experience is illusion. The whole concept of Krishna consciousness is to take us out of this illusion. And to take us out of this illusory situation, one has to come to understand what is illusion itself. No one can deny the fact that we are in illusion. Because the fact is this, that even the scientists have done so many research. And nobody, even the scientists, cannot deny the fact that illusory energy or illusion exists or is real. Because when the eye sees in a far distance, in the desert, it sees water. But as one gets closer to the water, it finds a different thing entirely. So the senses are not perfect. So whatever our senses, these 5 working and 5 knowledge acquiring senses, whatever they reflect to us are not reality. So our perception in our present state are all illusory. Whatever the sense, whether the knowledge acquiring or the working senses perceive, are all illusory. And that is why there is so much. Whatever we smell, whatever we perceive, and that is why there is so much of division and disagreement in the world. And the Englishman even made it more beautiful when he says that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Because what I see as ugly, somebody sees it as beautiful. What I see as reality, somebody sees it as false. And this is the reflection of what the senses are like. So when we look at from the eye, from material perception, there are so many. Because when we look at the verse we're reading today, there's a beautiful statement here. The purport is very short, but Prabhupada started by explaining, according to the Vedic assertion, the material creation is the result of the Lord's casting a glance over the neutral energy which is described in as the alluring illusory energy. Everything is illusion. It's illusory. But how do you understand this illusory nature of the material world? And there's so many examples. We have seen from reality. There is this common, when talking about perception in seminars and workshops that we normally would give. When I write 6 and I put 2 people on different side of the letter C, 6. Somebody on one side will see it as 6, but the other person on the other side will see it as 9. These are all indications to show that although there is something that is real, but our perception is false. Because why? We are seeing with an imperfect senses. And there are so many examples that are visible. Sometimes the letter E is used to give an example in different cases. But the reality is that in most cases, our perception of things are all faulty because our senses are faulty. Because they're material, they have defects. So the very scriptures talks about the 4 defects of the conditional state of life. And everybody, everyone in this material world is born with a delusion. From the verse we started this discussion with, that verse 13:6-7 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna used a very interesting word there, which he used in chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. Isha Dvesha. And the word Isha Dvesha means the nature of the living entity that is in the material world. He is illusion, but because of his desire and his, he cannot see, because whatever he's seeing is based on what the senses and the intelligence is sharing to him, based on his conditional perception. And that is why you find that the material world, it is difficult to have agreement within the living entities, because there's always disagreement. Because what somebody considers to be reality to somebody else is unreal. And there are so many philosophers who have reasoned that when we take this further into looking at cultures, looking at our perceptions of religion, looking at our perceptions of spirituality, it is almost difficult to find what is the truth reality. And that is why the Christian will tell you, my way is the only way. A Muslim will tell you, this is the only way. And you ask a devotee, he will also tell you, this is the only way, this is the only way. And is any one of them wrong? All are wrong, but simultaneously are right also. Because to that individual who is asserting that statement, they are all right. And this is the nature of the conditioned soul in the material world, that our perception based on the reality where we exist. And there is no one in the material world who is perfect. Because for the living entity to have come into this material world means that there is some deficiency. No one comes into the material world as a pure devotee, unless the other type of living entities who have come here, who are not delusion. Lord Krishna mentioned them in the Bhagavad Gita. What is sensible, what is reasonable to me, to somebody else is not making sense. So the whole process of spiritual life is to distinguish between this reality and what is illusion. So Sukadeva Goswami is stating in the verse that we're reading that this, the whole of this creation is the illusory glance of the Lord, alluring illusory glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes we have that when we discuss, somebody will say the Vedic culture is the best culture. And somebody else will say, oh, Abrahamic culture is the best culture. So which is correct, which is wrong? No one who is like a good example that is always given. A drowning man cannot save a drowning person. Only a person who is not drowning can save. But the distinguishing factor about the Vedic culture, because here the text is starting with a very affirmative statement. What is the uniqueness of the Vedic culture? Prabhupada in the text did a very powerful justice by translating Vedic hymns are the cerebral passage. And I define what cerebral means earlier on. Cerebral means intelligence or something beyond emotions, astuteness, truth. So the Vedic culture is different. Why is it? What is the uniqueness of the Vedic culture? Why is Vedic culture should be accepted? So in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, text number 15, Lord Krishna, he gave us an insight into why we should accept the Vedic culture. Where Lord Krishna was telling Arjuna, Sabasyam aham, Ridi Sanevisto, Matas Smriti Gyanam, Apo Anam Cha. Vedascha Sarva Aham Eva Vedio, Vedanta Creed, Vedavid, Eva Chaham. That is seated in everyone's heart, and he is what? Is facilitating the remembrance, forgetfulness, knowledge of himself. By the Vedas is to be known. Indeed, he is the compiler of the Vedas, Vedanta Sutra. And because he is the compiler, he also is the knower. Thank you, Sadi, for bringing it up. So, but why should we accept this person? Sorry for that. So why should we accept this Vedic authority? Because Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has demonstrated beyond our conditional reality. And what is that? In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse number 7, Lord Krishna stated, Matas parantara nanyat, kinshit asti dananjaya, Mahi sarva midam putam, sutremani gana iva. He was telling Arjuna that, O conqueror of world, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon my shoulder, as pierced, as strong on thread. So Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he displays that. And that is the purpose, that's the reason why in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he exhibited, he manifested this form that we are discussing, the Virat Rupa. So that no one can come and explain or express his being beyond illusion falsely. So Lord Krishna, he exhibited when he came onto this material, it shows that he is not under the influence of the illusory energy. He exhibited that he is the master of illusory energy. From his activities, from his Bhagavad Gita, from the statement of the Lord exhibited that he is beyond illusory energy. So therefore, he called that for somebody, for one to be able to be free from this illusory energy, Mayam etam tarantite want us to surrender unto me. Why? Because material energy, who is the elusive energy that covers every living entity, that controls every living entity, that living entities are bewildered by, is mine, is under me, is working under me. So therefore, if one wants to come out of it, then one has to come to me. And that is why when we look at the Krishna discussing with Arjuna in chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, from text number 2 to 7, Arjuna was expressing which is the nature of the living entity in this material world. No one knows what is to be done or what is not to be done at what time. So Arjuna was expressing all kinds of forms of confusion. Should it be this? Should it be that? Should it be this? Should it be that? But Lord Krishna gave a very simple formula how to come out of the illusory energy of the Lord. And which is the basis or the ABC of Krishna consciousness knowledge. Deinosmi yata de kaumaram yauvanam jara tatadrantra praptiri dirastatra namu yati. That living entity is not this material body. As the embodied living entity passes from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly, at the time of death, it passes into another body. So all of these are not natural with the living entity. The living entity is beyond all of this. Thank you. So this is the ABC. This is the beginning of coming out of the illusory energy of the Lord. And why should one accept this? Because it is coming from the mouth of the person who is the owner of, or who is the master of the illusory energy. It's because it's coming from him, who has demonstrated beyond all doubts that the material energy is under his control. Everything in the material world is relative, but Krishna manifested, he exhibited the quality to show that is beyond all this illusory energy. So therefore, it is only reasonable for one to believe such a person. And like an American will say, you tell an American, oh, you're having a particular challenge. And he said, okay, take this solution. He will ask you, have you experienced that? Have you tried the same solution before? And if you tell him, oh, yes, I had the same experience, and I've used such a solution, so use it. Even if it's not going to work, the intelligent American man will take it, even if he's going to die by using that. So even from material understanding, we know that we accept authority based on experience. So by the experience of Krishna's appearance, and that is why he appeared in this material world in the first place, to show us that beyond our reality, there is a reality beyond our reality, and that is him. And when we listen to this voice of one who is beyond the illusory energy, but then the question then comes, how do one connect to this master of the illusory energy? When our senses, by themselves, just like a nice analogy given. In our garden, in our house, we try to water them at some point in time using the water hose. And in that garden flower, there are some ants and small living entities that are there. And when we try to water our garden, which is just something small for us, it's a devastation for that little ant. But when we look at the Lord's creation, when we look at the series of the text we're reading before getting to this point, which culminates in this text we are reading today, it says that the art of affection is his set forth teeth, and the most alluring in this humanitarian energy is his smile. So this material nature, the whole of this gigantic creation, is just like a tiny thing, insignificant before the Supreme Personality of God. So it's therefore said, just like Prabhupada concluded in the purport, that the intelligent person who can grasp these truths about the Lord become a soul fully surrendered unto him, the Supreme Personality of God. And that is what Lord Krishna requests of all of us. That ultimately, the appropriate thing for anyone who is intelligent, one who has intelligence, is that what? He should simply surrender unto the Supreme Personality of God. And that is the whole conclusion of the whole of the teachings of the Supreme Lord. Sarva Dharma Paritya Dhamma becomes Saranam Braja. Aham Chom Sarva Pabibi Mukisha Visyami. Masucha, just surrender unto me. But this surrender is not easy. The surrender is not very easy to attain. But Lord Krishna did not leave us alone. So he gave us a very encouraging statement. This process of surrender that is very difficult, that is very uneasy to attain. In the same Bhagavad Gita, he told us that what? That mam chaya vabicharina bhakti yogina sevati sadguna samatyatam brahma bhuyaya karpate. That this devotional service that this solution I'm giving you, one who can engage in this devotional service of mine, in full devotional service, unfading in all circumstances at once, transcend the modes of material nature and thus comes to the laws, to the level of Brahman. So this powerful illusory energy that is very almost unsurmountable, if one takes to this process of devotional service with full consciousness, without failing. So the whole of the readings of the Bhagavad Gita, the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, and all of the Vedic scriptures are doing only one thing. They take us to the first sentence of the translation of the text we are reading today, that the Vedic hymns are the cerebral passage of the Lord. That they are the essential truth that exist. So the role of Krishna consciousness is to bring us to this reality. And that's why in the purport, Srila Prabhupada concluded on that statement, that we should just take to this process of devotion and service with faith. And when we engage with faith in this process of devotion and service, that which is unknown becomes knowable. So in the beginning, it is bhakti, devotional service. When one does not know what is to be known, when one does not know what is to be done, the medication, the solution is bhakti, devotional service. When one knows what is to be done, the activities is bhakti, devotional service. And when one has become free from the influence of the three modes of material nature, the activities is still bhakti, devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the beginning, the middle, and the end of the whole of the process of existence is only centered around only one thing: bhakti, nothing else. That surrendering process is what the Krishna consciousness movement affords us. And Prabhupada nicely, professionally, states it in every pages of the devotional service. There is no one page of Prabhupada's book or the various scriptures as given to us by Srila Prabhupada that you will not find the same conclusion. And as is stated in the first canto of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, that every other activities becomes useless when it is not connected with bhakti. So this devotional service is the key. And it starts by this process of hearing, chanting, which Prabhupada Maharaj gave to us as 9 processes of devotional service. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur expanded that and expanded it into 14 processes. But all is all culminating in one thing, that this devotional service is the only solution. So yesterday we were celebrating Sri Ram Navami. In the first canto, first canto, chapter 2, text number 8, the conclusion of all study, the conclusion of all reading, the conclusion of all activities is that one should surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Sutta Goswami mentioned in that text that the occupational duties a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke the attraction for the message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So fortunate are those of us who have the opportunity and are taking the advantage of the opportunity by taking to this most essential endeavor, hearing, chanting, and talking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the whole essence of this topic is to bring us to this point, as stated by Sutta Goswami in that first canto, chapter 2, text number 8, that yes, illusory energy or the Maya does exist. That illusory energy is the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by experience, we all can attest to the fact that we are all illusion. That the purpose of illusion is to keep the conditioned soul out of the vicinity of the environment of love, sharing and relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is explained that we can overcome this illusion. We can come over it by taking to the process of bhakti, devotional service. And the only person that can take us out of this illusory energy is Krishna himself, who most of the times or sometimes manifests directly himself or through the form of the spiritual master. And if one studies all revealed scriptures, all Vedic thoughts, all life experiences, one will realize that there is no better activity, engagement than taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in loving devotion and service. Bhakti. And that is the summary of all revealed scriptures. And those who are intelligent, they accept this conclusion. So this is the summary of the whole of the purport. The Prabhupada give a very precise, concise test purport, but they all are summing up, giving us answer to these 7 thoughtful questions that are arising from this test. And when we take shelter of these truths, we'll be free from the material temporary creation, which is an imitation of the reality of our existence and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to stop here to give room for interactive section, question and answer, corrections, comments from the devotees. Hare Krishna. So if anyone has a question or comment or some contributions.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, His Grace Salika Prabhu. It's always beautiful that you are always prepared to step in. So dear devotees, if anyone has a question, comment, realizations, you may do so by using the hand emoji or using your physical hand. Well, I must say that Salika Prabhu, for a very long time, I have not been as much confused as you've been able to got me confused today. You've got me very much confused today. And that means that if you're kind enough, you have some work to do for me to clear my doubts. And that is, you were talking about illusion. One, you were saying it that some people say this material world is illusion, but we as devotees do not say it's illusion. That was like your opening statement. And then along the line, you emphasized so many instances that everything is illusion. Everything is illusory here because it's the material energy of the Lord, which is illusory. And yet you ask us if we look at things in reality. So I want you to please help me. What is this illusion? What is this illusory energy? And what is reality? If the whole world, if the whole material world is illusion, then where are we going to come across what you're referring to as reality? Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you very much, Master Prabhu. My leg is already shaking when you started your question because it is only difficult for a learner like me to clear the doubt of a professor, but I'll try. Prabhupada started the purport by giving an assertion. He said, according to Vedic assertion, this material creation is the result of the Lord's casting a glance over the material energy, which is described herein. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me now?
Krishna. Yes.
Okay, my network fluctuated. So I'll retrace what I was saying. Did you hear my rephrasing Prabhupada purport? I started by explaining that Prabhupada started the purport by giving us this thoughtful insight that according to the Vedic assertion, this material energy, material creation is a result of the Lord's casting a glance over the material energy, which is described herein as the most alluring illusory energy. So this thought was coming from this purport of Srila Prabhupada, vis-a-vis the materialist or the material perception of what this material world is like. Out of frustration of ignorance, the Mayavadis said that this world is illusory. It does not, it's false, doesn't exist. Because they cannot comprehend. But the Vedic scriptures make us realize that Krishna is real, and we are also real. But what is now unreal? Our perception of the reality is what is unreal. For an example, I call Sahadev. And most oftentimes when we call someone or we call a city, that is not the reality. Because the reality is that what Krishna started the Bhagavad Gita with, the inosmi yatadi hey. That's why Krishna started there. The living entity is a spirit source, parcel of him, who is passing through a body. But what we see is the body. And that is why we started the discussion by talking about the 10 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Because whatever we know, whatever we develop, whatever we call our culture, whatever we have assumed after several years, we concluded by saying this is the culture. But that which we call culture is as a result of the fact of long time of association with such a practice. But it's not the reality. The real culture is Vedic culture, which is emanating from Krishna. So when we talked about unreality, we are talking about our perception of things as they are. This material world in its entirety is not different from Krishna, but it's simultaneously different. And that is why it's very confusing, because our perception of it is based on our senses that we have, which it is the tool for us to be able to acquire and relate with everything that we perceive. We see with our eyes the sun, and we say the sun is very tiny in the sky. But the sun is millions and millions of times bigger than even the whole of this planet. So that is the illusion. So whatever our perception is in our conditional state of existence is illusory, because it's not the reality. There is the Vedic assertion that the demigod exists, but from our mundane experience, how can one comprehend it? Krishna manifested in this material world. And that is why some philosophers, even from the Vedic Indian background culture, they tell you that the statement of Krishna's manifesting into 16,108 personality, building 16,108 palaces, marrying 16,108 wives or queens, are not reality. Until recently, when scientists, due to archaeological discovery, came to start seeing some wrecks of Dwaraka city under the ocean. Because whatever knowledge, whatever assertion, whatever statement we make is based on what we see with our senses, our eyes, our nose, perception, our taste, our feeling, and all of these senses are deficient. They're conditioned and we can experience it. The eyes will carry in our eyes that we call the eyes can only see in a certain condition. I'll taste honey and I say this is very sweet, but for a jaundiced person, it is bitter. And you cannot deny the fact to him that it's not bitter. To me, it's disgusting to think of smelling the stool, talk less of tasting it, but a living entity who is not different from me and you, who is also a soul like you and I, take pleasure, the hog, Mr. Hog takes so much pleasure, the dog takes so much pleasure in eating the stool. But that is the same soul. It's not different from you or me. It's not different from Brahma. It's the same soul. But based on the covering reflected in the 10 senses, 5 working and 5 knowledge acquiring senses, is perceiving in a particular way. That is what is unreal. I don't know whether that tries to answer your question.
Well, let me try to rephrase what you said in my own language and help verify if I'm getting you right. So in effect, what you're saying is that everything in this material world is real, but because we have 5 imperfect working senses, 5 acquiring senses, imperfect acquiring senses, and imperfect mind, our perceptions of these real things are not right. And because our perceptions of the realities are not right, that's why they are illusory. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry, my network just is fluctuating somehow. Yes, everything is real because Krishna is real and everything is emanating from Krishna. But our perception of the reality is illusory because we are not seeing it as what they are. And like the example I gave, the sun. We see the sun is real, but our perception of sun is not real. It's illusory. Yeah. So similarly, with everything that exists in this material world, our perception of them are illusory because we do not see them as they are. Another example is that we are growing old. We are experiencing reality that we are growing old. We experience reality that we are falling sick. But the soul is never sick. The soul is never getting old. The soul is just what? In its covering. Just like the energy called light can be transmitted as red light, yellow light, black light. So we are all like depending on the modes of material nature that is we are operating on. We see them differently like that, as black, white, yellow, green, colorless. For an example, carbonated water. A carbonated water in the same environment, same degrees, when it's drank, the same water, the carbonated tastes very colder than the other one. It's not the water is not cold. It's not hot. But based on the circumstances that we are in at the particular moment, we see it differently. So that is what is illusion. So our perception as everything is illusion. But there is a real perception of things as they are. So that is what Krishna is taking us to. That Krishna is saying that when you surrender to me, then you will see them as they are. Then you will see that Sahadev is never old nor young. He's not tall or short. He's not fat or thin. All of these are illusory. Perception of the conditioned soul based on the conditional body that he's carrying.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Thank you. But in that case, then Sahadev does not even exist in the first place because me being referred to as a Sahadev That's not my name. But we have to accept something in order to be in. As long as we are in this material world, as I'm speaking to you, you are speaking to me. I'm hearing you, you are hearing me. Now, how do I even know that what I'm telling you actually makes sense? How do you know what you're telling me actually makes sense? So
exactly.
It's still confusing to me, but I think you made it a little clearer to me when you said the perception is what makes things illusion.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we'll go to Dr. Hassan. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Glory to you. I'm also a little bit confused here. Maybe I might be wrong, but I'm trying to ask the question. If maybe I will not be able to express myself well. So, for instance, if you consider yourself that you are this body, a solution, and for you to come to the platform of devotional service or bhakti, to know yourself that you are not this body, but you are still soul, part and parcel of Krishna. So this is also illusion or it's reality?
Very good question. Very beautiful question. Thank you very much for that question. And that is where I concluded the discussion earlier, that why should we accept that we are not this body if every of our perception is illusory, right? But because the person telling us that we are not this body is Krishna. And Krishna has demonstrated that he's not controlled by illusion. All the experiences, all our hypothesis, synthesis, experiment that proves that we are conditioned does not exist in the reality of Krishna's manifestation in this material world. Krishna, by all ramifications, has exhibited that material nature works under him. So therefore, the statement of Krishna is authoritative, is acceptable. That is why we can accept it. Every other position, every other assertion is secondary to what Krishna says. And the reason why we say that is because Krishna is the supreme authority, because Krishna, by his own nature, he came into this material and manifested and demonstrated that material nature is working under him. And if someone says so, okay, he has a different opinion that is different from Krishna, then show yourself to be greater than Krishna. Let us see. And that is the purpose why Krishna manifested the Virat Rupa in the first place, to show the less intelligent person that the authority of Krishna cannot be duplicated by anyone. So he manifested that form to show that I'm not just talking. This is I'm the reality. And that is why he said in that verse that I quoted earlier, that what? Mata prantaras nanyat kinshit asti dananjaya. Mayi sarvamidam putam sutre mani gana iva. That Arjun, my dear Arjun, oh conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything is resting upon me. And he used a very, very nice analogy there. As pearls are strung on a thread, everything that is about, no matter how beautiful a pearl is, without the thread that is holding it together, is useless. In fact, it becomes ugly. So a pearl becomes beautiful only when all of the pearls are stringed together nicely on the thread. So Krishna said, he is that thread, is the thread, is that thing which connects everything. And he manifested that. And that's why he said in that verse, and many other verses in the Bhagavad Gita, Am Sarvasya Prabhava, Mata Sarva Prabhatate, Iti Macho Bhajanti Ma Buddha Bhava Samavita. I mean, everything, animate, inanimate, is emanating from me. And to show that, he lifted the Govardhan Hill. He manifested the Virat Rupa form, which is being described here in this section of the Bhagavatam, and many other unnatural, supernatural activities to show that, yes, you can accept my statements. There is no truth, there is no other reality that is superior to mine. And this is the reason he manifested it. So if someone says that, okay, why should we accept this reality? Then let him show us something greater. That was why when Srila Prabhupada get to the West, when he arrived in London, they were asking him, we already know God. We already talk about God. So why are you trying to talk about God? He said, I'm coming to tell you what you have forgotten about God. Because Krishna is Krishna. But our knowledge of Krishna is limited to our perception. But Krishna is beyond our perception. So he speaks with authority and explains, this is who I am. And so if Krishna is speaking, then we should accept Krishna. Because there is no truth that is higher than Krishna. So that is why it must be accepted. And from practical experience, everyone, that is why Arjuna, in that chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, when Krishna manifested the Virat Rupa, Arjuna confessed and said, the previous sages, they have said this about you. All the great sages, all the great learned scholars, they have said this about you. You yourself are saying it to me now. Not only that you are saying it to me, but you even show me. So if someone is saying that, yes, there is something different above this Krishna conscious or Krishna's teachings or Krishna's philosophy, then let him show it to us. Then we will accept him. My Guru Maharaj will say, there was an interview with the Daily Times in the early 90s. And a reporter asked Srila Gurudev, he said, you were born John Favors, and you practice, according to your statement in your previous answer to my question, several other traditions. So is there likelihood that someday, sometime, you might also change from this and join some other things? And he said, yes. He said, today, if I see some truth that is higher than this, proven than Krishna and Krishna consciousness, he said, I'll be the first person to go there. So a devotee is not scared, he's not afraid to be converted. But you have to prove beyond common sense. And when we say prove beyond common sense, means that it has to be beyond logic, because Krishna is trans-logical. It's beyond logic. Hare Krishna. I hope that tries to answer the question.
Yes. So, so to your explanation, from my little understanding, that means that not everything is illusion.
Come again with
that. What I'm trying to say, that for explanation that you are giving, that means not everything is illusion. There's reality in some things that we see in this world, or we have taught by Krishna.
Material world is real. We, the living entity, are real. But our perception of this world and even ourselves is unreal. Because we think I'm American, I'm a Yoruba man, I'm an Hausa man, I'm a Portuguese, I'm a black man, I'm a Yoruba man. All these are illusory, and they are illusion. They do not exist. Because there's nothing like that in reality.
Yes,
it's based
yes,
on our perception.
But that's why I understand that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking that. So not everything that we see is illusion, because if Gita explains something about the spiritual world, we use our mind to, though we have not seen it, but we use our mind to see that, because that is what Krishna is explaining. that means that is reality.
Yeah, because whatever is spoken and said by Krishna is real.
Okay.
And because we are part of the reality, so when the reality is manifested in our presence, we recognize it. Even when we don't accept them, but we know that this is reality.
Oh, okay. Okay, okay, yes, I understand. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you so much. It's great, Salika Prabhu. If anyone else has a question or comment, please you may do so by using the hand emoji or raising your physical hand to unmute. Well, today is Friday, it seems. Yeah, but Hassan, you have something else, please.
Yes, if nobody has any questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yesterday, I asked a question about Hanuman.
No, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
No, but Hassan, go ahead.
Yes,
What's
and
the question
that's
about
Maharaj,
Hanuman?
but he said he don't have, or he has not read anything like that. So if anybody here can explain a little bit about it to me, because
If you may repeat the question, I remember you were asking.
Because yes, we always hear Hanuman, his supernatural powers and so on, and he was part of Lord Ram. And I asked, why did he born as a monkey, and did he come from a spiritual world, or he was born like he has a mother and father which give birth to him, and why did he born as a monkey? This was the question, but
okay.
If I understand your question correctly, I was also not in class. I was there, but inattentive because I was having a Ram Navami celebration. So the first question is like you have 3 questions in one question. The first question is that the supernatural power of Hanuman, was he born with him like that? Am I correct with that?
No, the question is
why was he born as
why was he born as a monkey? Because
yes, I get that. Why was he born as a monkey? Why was he born as a monkey? Does he have a father or earthly father and mother?
Or did he come from a spiritual world? Because he is he has association with Lord Ram, which is Krishna, and anybody who is with Krishna, he has a story, how the purpose, that the reason why he came, you know. So yes, I want to know. We only hear Hanuman, he has supernatural powers and he was with Lord Rama, but I don't know anything else about him. That's why I'm asking.
Okay. Lord Ram, Hanuman has a earthly mother and father.
Oh, okay.
His mother's name is Anjana, and his father's name is Kesari. And Hanuman is said to be an incarnation of Lord Shiva.
Oh, okay. But why did he born as a
Well, can I come in? I'm driving. Can I come?
Yeah, you want to say something in regards to the question he's asking?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. When he finishes, I will explain the other part of the question.
So Lord Vishnu asked the demigods to go and take birth on earth as Atman and
can you check your microphone? It's not clear enough.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, much better.
Yes.
Better.
Okay, so Lord Vishnu asked the demigods to take birth as monkey race so that they could assist him in his eventual war against Ravana. So before Lord Vishnu came down, he asked demigods to come down as monkey race. Is that clear? Half man, half well, a particular monkey race, because the Lord knew that he had to contend with Ravan. In fact, one of his main reasons for coming was to come and get rid of Ravana. And the Lord asked the demigods to come down as a monkey race. Okay, that is the point. Is that clear?
Yes,
Well, I think
it's clear, but why did he come as a monkey? Because when we hear the story about SRIMAD, it was the story of Hiranyakashipu. He has to complete all the promise he gave to him. That's why he comes.
Yeah, but that is what Prabhu is telling you. Krishna is going to take birth in that form. That is why he came as a monkey. That is the answer, no?
Yeah.
Some stories.
Yeah, Dr. Hassan.
Yes. Okay.
That's why I said your question is 3 questions in 1 question.
Yeah.
The first question is, why did he take that particular form? Because whenever the Lord wants to appear in the material world, he would not come alone. Just like the president of a nation doesn't go on a trip alone. There is envoys, his associates. So the Lord asked all the demigods to come descend in the earthly world to assist him in his pastimes. And they appear in a particular form, in a particular family, in a particular race, for the purpose for which they are going to be coming. So they are all pre-arranged.
Okay.
That is why Hanuman come in that particular form, to fulfill the desire of the Lord for the particular pastimes. The Lord asked in the Bhagavatam, there are 24 incarnations of God explained, and 10 of them are primary. And one of the 10 primary incarnations is Lord Ramachandra. And Lord Ramachandra, he came for the purpose of ending the era of Hiranyakashipu, and for that pastime to depict what the Lord desires to see. So the Lord has to be assisted, because Lord Ravana, one of the boon he got was that he cannot be killed by a human being, or not animal. So the Lord, just like the story of Hiranyakashipu that you are referring to, so the Lord will look at the situations of the particular pastimes and will allow a manifestation that suits. Just like when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked to come, he come for a particular reason in that particular form. So the all of the associates that came along with him, they came in that particular form. So Hanuman came in the monkey form, and not just Hanuman, and several other monkeys come along with him, but they are all demigods who are appeared. And Hanuman himself is said to be an incarnation of Rudra or Lord Shiva, so who appeared in that form to fulfill the mission of the Lord. And his mother's name is Anjana. Why is father's name, according to the story in this Ramayana, is Keshari.
Okay, thank you so much. I think my question is answered. Thank you.
I think the explanation you've given to Dr. Hassan, very beautiful, especially like what His Grace Srimad Prabhu was saying. I believe he's driving, so he could not explain clearly what he was saying, because I believe, and Prabhuji, if you're there, you're listening, you may get back on this. And then after this, we'll go to Harichakra Prabhu. He had a question. But from what you, Srimad Prabhu, you were describing, may seem that Lord Vishnu specifically asked the demigods to assume the form of monkeys Of course, we know that Hanuman and his clan are like monkeys, but they are not monkeys, because these are different type of species, which I think that even before Lord Vishnu asked the demigods to take birth in the form of monkeys, there were already such beings living, because we have 8,400,000 species of life, out of which 400 species are humans. And Hanuman and his clan are considered to be humans. And so they are also a different race of human beings. But Lord Vishnu, enacting his pastime, wanted these demigods to take birth in that species, which is very appropriate for enacting his pastime. Is that what it means? Or before Lord Vishnu asked the demigods to assume such birth, there was nothing like such race in existence?
Okay. The speaker is not good, Prabhu.
Yeah, your microphone.
Clear.
Yeah, so I'm saying that.
Yes, better now.
Yeah, I'm saying that this form was a particular form that the demigods took in order to assist the Lord in his pastime. So it was not like this form was already existing. No. The Lord asked them to go and take form, this particular form, resembling monkey, in order to assist him in the forest pastime with Ravana. That is what I learned. Okay? I'm still driving.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Can I say something, Prabhu?
Kavi.
But then there is the interesting part. I think somebody can help him to explain that. How did he get all this extraordinary power? That's a very interesting story.
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu. Can I say something regarding the form?
Okay, yeah. If it's in connection to this, yeah.
It's in connection, Prabhu.
Okay, go ahead.
In the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where they describe the different kind of planets.
Yeah.
One of the planets they talk about also is a planet where Hanuman is residing.
Yeah.
So that kind of form, they are considered to be Kim Purushas. There are different kind of forms.
Yes.
So when you read, you will see that the Kim Purusha means what kind of human being are this? What kind of men are this? That is the meaning of the literary translation of Kim Purusha. And there's another kind of species of human being also. They call them Kinnaras.
Kinnaras,
yes. You have all these human beings with wings. Who have wings like birds. They are not demigod, but they are servants of birds. So they call all those also, they are called Kinnaras. What kind of human being? Because they look like human beings, but they don't look exactly like human beings. So the race of animals, they are called Kim Purushas. Which kind of human being are these? They are not monkey, they are not humans. Because if you look at Hanuman, he has a face of monkey, and the other part of body, they look like humans. So like that is what I wanted to add. That Kim Purush, they are called Kim Purushas. It's mentioned in 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Well,
thank you. Thank you, Kavi Kanapura. I was waiting for Sahadev to finish his assertion before making an input on that, but I think you've cleared it up. It is not like the Hanuman is a particular species of 400,000 human beings. There are a specific type of entities, as Kavi have just explained. They are not within the 400,000. They are other species, but they are of different race, not of this earthly species that that is counted in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, when we go to that count of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is where you see the generations of men or Manu descendants. They are all explained. And then what Srimad Prabhu was saying I think from my understanding, maybe unless if I'm wrong, the Hanuman form was not a creation of new existence when Hanuman was going to appear. They were already existing in the creation. It's not like they were special creation created for that particular person. Their forms were already existing, but they're not on this earth planet. As in and like we always explain, in the days of yore or in the Vedic age, there is a little bit of gap in between this earth planet and other planets, higher and lower planets, because there is interconnectivity. And that makes me to want to answer Nidanand Prabhu's question, because, sorry, Arichakra Prabhu will come to you just now about the marriage of women, women having freedom to marry 2, 3, 4, 5 husbands. Just a second.
He is mute.
Yeah, I think he received a call or something. Hare Krishna. Salika Prabhu. All right, so it seems Salika Prabhu was preparing to answer a question Nidanand Prabhu had asked a couple of days ago.
But it's muted.
Yeah, I think he's still talking to somebody.
Okay.
Yeah. And what Nidanand, actually, he wasn't saying anything. He just referenced what he had read from Mahabharata.
Yeah, sorry for that break. It was such an important call. I had to attend to that. I was getting a call from the UN. There is a political crisis going on in Kenya. And as one of the global special envoy to African Union, the ambassador of Ethiopia was the one calling to some things that we need to do at the African Union level to kind of arrest some of the situation going on in Kenya. So I just had to call him and tell him I'll call back later. Sorry for that break. So I was trying to explain.
Let's be brief so that you can give attention.
Yeah, I've told them I'll call back later.
Yeah.
So I was trying to give a little bit explanation on Nidanand Prabhu's question on the freedom of women to marry many husbands. From my research, I've actually gone back. There are several scriptures, quotes from the Rig Veda, from the Atharva Veda, which states about marriage and the issues of what generally the Englishman calls this kind of marriage is called polyandry. A man married 2 wives, 3 wives is polygamy, but it's called polyandry when a woman marries 2 more than one wife. And we have the example of that, like in our scriptures, our history, like what's it called now? Drupadi marrying 5 husbands, Kunti having not officially married, but begetting children for more than 1 husband. But scripturally, it was not there in any of the Vedic scriptures. Maybe after this class, Manandi, I will show you references from the direct Vedic scriptures that talks about marriage, and all of them are talking about monogamy or single married one man, one woman. You know, there's this philosophy by the Muslim saying that it's only in Islam scripture that you find injunction that one should marry only 1 wife. But actually, it's there in the it is there in the Rig Veda, it is there in the Atharva Veda, and some other few direct Vedic scriptures. And in other supplementary scriptures, there is nowhere that it is given as a scriptural injunction that a woman can marry. But however, this has been a cultural background, just like in every tradition, human tradition, there are certain cultural behaviors that human beings developed. And over a time, just like I was also explaining in the course of the lecture, over a period of a time, it becomes a norm. And sometimes there's some religious traditions, they adopt it as a norm, but it was actually never a norm or scriptural injunction. And I give an example like from the Muslim tradition until several years later, even when I was still a Muslim, I never knew that there's something that the Muslim will call sadaqah or prayers of 3 days prayers after a death. And it looks as if it is a scriptural thing, just like we're talking about the other day, naming, giving ceremony. So these are not scriptural injunction. The marriage of woman to many wives are not scriptural injunction. They are cultural developments in human traditions that exist for billions and millions of years back. But it is not scriptural injunction. It is there in India, it is there in even Africa, it is there in many cultures. As of today, there are 4 countries that permits or allow polyandry kind of a marriage, where a woman can marry more than husband. One is in India. There's some remote place in India where it is being practiced even till today, and that a woman can marry more than 1 husband. Then the other places in Japan, in China, and in Kenya, in Africa. These 4 countries still practice polyandry, even as at today, as we speak. But it is not a scriptural injunction. It's a cultural injunction, which is there. And then 5,000 years ago, during the era of the Mahabharata, it was because it was a cultural norm. So Pandu was referring to that because it was like, that was why in that statement, he mentioned that people in the past were doing it, but it was not a scriptural injunction, but people were doing it in the past, and it is still being practiced today. So I think that should answer your question, that why was it being allowed? It is being allowed because it is cultural development, but it's not a scriptural injunction. And because it has been practiced for a long period of time, some cultures still adopt it till tomorrow as a practice. So that is my take on it. I was going to read, of course, to round up on this, there is this sage, Yajnavalkya, which is also mentioned in the Mahabharata. There's a Yajnavalkya Smriti, which talks about some of these things, and he explains in details about it. But I can share that document also with you, because it's a large volume of body of collections of Yajnavalkya's writings, or Smriti, as it is called. And as you know, Smritis are not Shrutis, they are not scriptures. They are just traditions or messages given according to ancient cultures of traditions.
Thank you. So we go to Hare Chakra Prabhu, if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm here, but
Okay, Hare Krishna.
You have talked so much, I have even forgotten my question.
Forgive us.
Okay, let me ask. But before I ask my question, I want a clarification. When Salika, when you were saying Hanuman is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, but I thought I read and I also heard that Hanuman is an incarnation of Vayu.
Vayu, yes. Yeah. There is these 2
it's both.
Yeah, there is two versions of the stories of Hanuman. There is some Vedic thoughts that says, okay, excuse me, you have your phone. Okay, sorry. So, yeah, in some Vaishnava, the Vaishnava culture tradition most often refers to him as the incarnation of Vayu, the air god. But when some ancient Vedic scriptures also talked about him being the incarnation of Rudra, and it is vice versa. But how do I put it? Both
different versions.
It can be both. Like we have in Chaitanya pastime, not Chaitanya pastime, two personality in one body. It can be both.
Yeah, it's both.
Yes, so it can be to both of them. So because both are referring directly to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Now my question is, during your class, you were talking about, you set an example of if someone stands in the mirror, a lot of mirror, then the mirror can reflect so many images of it. And that is illusion. So if there is no reality, how can there be even illusion? How can there be illusion if the reality is like if there is no form? How can there be a shadow? A shadow cannot pop up from anywhere.
Beautiful question. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
The fact that there are so many illusory perception or conception does not deny the fact of reality of the existence. And that is why we say that, yeah, the living entity is real, the material world is real, Krishna is real. But the so many reflections or manifestations according as a result of the mirror are all illusion, because the mirror is showing us 10, 20 personalities, which in actuality is just one person. So those reflections of 10 persons are the illusion, but there is one real person. So you are right when you say that there cannot be illusion when there is no reality. Yes, if there was no Krishna, there would not have been anything like illusion. So Krishna himself, that's why Krishna himself says that Devi yesa guna mayi, mama maya durati aya, mamivaye papa dante maya itam tarati. That this illusory energy is my energy. So it is coming from Krishna. It is not like something that it is outside of Krishna, because if anything exists outside of Krishna, that means that thing must be greater than Krishna. So yes, the presence of so many illusory perception of forms or expressions does not deny the fact of the reality. The reality exists only because it exists that the illusory also manifests. And if you look at the text that we're reading today, that's exactly what the text was saying, that the art of the art of affection in a set of teeth and in most alluring illusory material energy is his smile. Confirming Devi Isa Gunama, it is his energy. That is the smile of the Lord. And then we can relate this to our material existence. When somebody is talking so stupidly or foolishly, what naturally do? We smile because it is amusing. And then that the living entity can fall under this kind of energy is amusing to the Lord. And that is why it's called the smile of the Lord. Because the Lord, when we're struggling and running up and down here, Krishna is just smiling, wondering, how is my living entity? So like this, how can they come just like this? He's laughing, it's laughable to him. Just like when the father sees the child is rolling on the floor, and the father will be wondering, this is childish. So our behavior under the influence of the material modes of nature is actually laughable. Because Krishna is seeing the reality of what we are. So he can smile, express his amusement at our expressions of ourselves.
Prabhu, when you were talking about that polyandry, I was just checking. They say it's still practicing in part of Tibet and China, even in Kenya.
Yeah, also, there are 4 countries that are doing it presently. Yeah. In China, in Japan, in India, and in Kenya, 4 countries. They legalize it. It happens in these 4 countries legally till today. In India, in China, in Japan, and even in Kenya.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Dear devotees, today is Friday, it's the end of the week. And it also happens to be the end of the month, which is beautiful.
Interesting.
So we're going to bring the class to an end. And we pray and hope that Guru and Krishna bless us all, keep us safe, healthy, and bring us back together next week, Monday. So at this point, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our ever-ready speaker, Salika Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All glory to praise Salika Prabhu ki.
All glory to Prabhupada ki jai.